Hello and welcome to Introduction to Epistemology. Today we are going to discuss sense-datum theory of perception, which is one of the theories of perception. And if you see the name is giving you the answer of the question that what is this theory about. Sense-datum is actually the word sense data. So it means the data that the person senses can be able to make a perception, and it could be a subjective in nature, non-physical in nature, and mind dependent, which provide us the knowledge of mind independent world. To understand what is sense data, there is one famous poem written by Emily Dickinson, and she mentioned, "I heard a fly buzz when I died." And that poem has been given in the next slide. If you take a look in the next slide, "I heard a fly buzz when I died. The stillness in the room was like the stiffness in the air between the heaven of storm. The eyes around had wrung them dry, and breath were gathered firm for that last onset when the king be witness in the room. I will my keepsake sign away what portion of me be assignable." And then it was there interposed a fly with blue uncertain struggling buzz between the light and me, and then the window failed, and then I could not see to see. So if you see this poem, the thing that is evident that this is a poem when a person is going to die. So what is the senses actually? And at that time she able to feel like obviously a flying buzz, or like a flying, something is flying, and that is sensed by his mind. Then she's talking about, because obviously the person having some religious beliefs, she's talking about heaven. And she's talking about obviously when she mentioned the second paragraph about from the last onset when the king be witness, so it may be talking about someone from the religious context, maybe the king, maybe someone like a lord. It depends upon which religion she follows. Then she's talking about in the next paragraph about the fly. So that actually she is making about the fly buzz, which is the main thing, that before she going to die she feel like a fly is buzzing. And then at the end she mentioned about uncertainty, a stumbling uncertainty. And then at the last line, if you observe, they're talking about the light, so and the window. So it means that when the senses going to lost, there will be no light or rejection of the light, because then the eyes will maybe gone, eyes windows become shut off, and the light could not enter inside obviously eyes, and then obviously there is nothing to see. That's why she mentioned, "I could not see to see." So that's as an explanation of sense data that is talking about the subjective, non-physical, and mind dependent. So that's why this is subjective in nature, not objective in nature. So that maybe that sense datum theory applied differently to other individuals. It may not be objectively same to everyone. So that's why that is subjective in nature. And non-physical in nature obviously because there is no buzz or there is no fly in the air in real sense, and it's all obviously about the mind, what mind is supposed to read. But that's very famous poem given by Emily Dickinson. So when we talk about sense data and when we need to compare with the physical objects, the main important thing is sense data is mind dependent. And what is meant by mind dependent? That it exists in our mind only, whereas physical objects is mind independent, which is existing outside that word, outside out to our mind. Then sense data is transient in nature, which means that it changes depending on circumstances, whereas physical objects are permanent, that stay on the same place. Like for example, there is a chair, if we talk about, it will remain same, whereas sense data is changing. That is why sense data is subjective in nature. Then sense data is also private in nature, that is existing only in my own mind or in your own mind, whereas public is actually for everyone. Like sense data in the last context is about infallible, which cannot be wrong the way we perceive. That is very interesting fact. So it means that is subjective to you, subjective to me. If I have my own sense data, it is subjective to me. It cannot be wrong. Whereas physical objects can be wrong, and the way physical object present, it could be wrong. We already discussed these things a bit in previous lectures, and we have in detail later on. So thank you so much for today's lecture, and hope to see you again in our upcoming lecture.